Hi, my name is Alinta, and today I'm going to take you through how you can use the Dog-Human IntraFacing project on your own smartphone device. So, this is a project that's been created as part of my PhD, and one of the interesting things about it, and one of the reasons why I made it specifically for smartphones, is that it's not just locked into my artwork, it's not just some kind of performance piece between me and dogs. It's actually something that anyone can use. It's a game that you can download onto your device and you can play with your dog. Of course, you need to have two devices for it to work, but basically it works like any other multiplayer game. So I have two devices here, and I'm going to take you through how to turn them on. So we just turn on our two devices and we look for the app that you will have. There it is, Dog-Human IntraFacing. Make sure you have your Wi-Fi set to on, because that's the only thing that's going to make it multiplayer. Another reason why it's really important that I'm showing you this today with these phones out of their containers is that there are a lot of intricacies in this game, a lot of little interesting things that happen on the screen that if you don't have access to two phones in order to look at this yourself, you will miss them. So normally I would have this smaller phone attached to the dog's harness device, which you would have seen elsewhere in other videos and pictures. And I have this larger phone attached to the human harness, the human device, which sits about here on the chest. And so let's start. So here we are with our two different devices. They're both on their opening screen. Both of these phones have two slightly different versions on them, which is why the opening screens look a little bit different. But the way that they start out is essentially you have two different options. There's the dog's device, there's the human's device, and there's a disclaimer in the middle. And so for this phone, I'm going to click on the dog's device, and on this phone, I'm going to click on the human's device. Now, if I look very quickly at the dog's device here, what I'm seeing is, maybe I should turn the screen down a little bit so you can see it. Nope, a little bit more. Nope. All right. What you're seeing is an image that portrays the direction that the dog is going in. So you can see this little arrow is lighting up down here because I'm holding the phone in that direction. If I was to turn this around, it's going to be pointing in that direction. If I were to do it this way, it's going to click down arrows, and then this way for here. So when you can imagine this is sitting on the dog's back, obviously of a large dog. So on a large dog, this device is quite small. You can see it depicted there in the little image. When the dog is sitting, the dog's back will go down and these will light up. When the dog bends forward, and these will light up. Turns to one side, lies down, say on that side, lies down on that side. It tells you which way it's going. And indeed, if you look very closely, you'll see a bunch of numbers coming up down here. That tells you the exact accelerometer numbers that are coming up at any given time. So that doesn't actually need to be there on the screen. That's perhaps more for me than anyone at the moment, but what this does is it lets you know exactly what's going on inside the phone as well, so that's quite interesting. So that's really what the dog's device does, because nobody really has to look at this device. That just sits on the back of the dog. And then over here we have the human's device. Now what the human's device is doing at the moment is it's saying that our body position has been detected, and that is walking. And that's just because obviously I've been playing around with this, and as I play around with this, you can see a little red thing is coming up at the top of the screen there. Whoops, accidentally pressed it. We'll go back. And what that up there is saying is, hey, I can tell that this is moving around, I've detected something new. And it doesn't do that constantly, it's doing it about every 5 seconds. So it's not always going to be changing. It gives you a chance to pick something up. So now it's saying that the dog is sitting, and then it thought it was lying down and now it thinks it's lying down again because I'm kind of going like this with the phone. So it says this is the position that the dog's in. It tells you how many seconds or minutes ago that position was entered into. And then if nothing comes up there, say a new position hasn't been entered into yet, it will say down here, waiting for gestures past. And that means that an old gesture that's come up during the middle of gameplay, you can click on that instead if you don't want to go for the main one or if there's no main one yet. So it's, like I say, it's checking around every 5 seconds. And so it's now settled on one because I've stopped playing on the other phone, and it's settled on walking. So I can click on this and it takes me to the main part of what the art game is, which is giving you a task to do with your dog based on what it thinks the dog is doing. So it knows that it was walking, so we have a walking task. You can see there's a fun little animation coming up of those squeaky chickens. So the different animations that come up are actually things that specifically relate to me and my dog Loki, who was the main participant for this work. And so little things that relate to him are throughout this work. And I wanted to try and do that in a way that was obviously not overtly sort of humanizing him in any way, but these are definitely things that he's liked. Some of them are things that he likes more recently, some of them are things that he has liked in the past but can't actually do anymore now that he's old, such as playing with tennis balls. So those things will fade away a lot quicker, but these ones, like the squeaky chicken, will come up and stay on the screen for quite a while because they're more current. So the colours are not showing exactly right through the camera, I will say that. If I turn it down a little bit, it might help. This is sort of quite a bit more yellow. So the task that we've been given for walking is to let your dog lead. Once you get home, trace the memory of the lines that you walked in a bird's eye view. So it's asking you to follow the dog within reason as part of your walk, and then to actually create a picture of that. So you can choose to either skip the task or say that you've completed the task. So it isn't a mini game, it's a task that you play in real life. It's something that asks you not to engage with the screen, but to engage with the dog. So we'll say we've done it, and it'll say, okay, we're waiting for a new gesture. It says waiting for change. So let's give it something to change. Okay, so a new position has been detected, lying on side. So this one is asking you to play a little sound clip to your dog. Ooh, let me make sure I got the sound turned up. So you play, this says play a sound, play your dog the sound below, copy their reaction, continue to copy their movements for 30 seconds. So you play the sound and then you find what their reaction is, and then you sort of turn this into a little performance. So obviously all of these tasks are a little bit surrealist, a little bit absurdist, and that's kind of the point of it as well, is that this isn't just about straight gameplay, it's about doing something a little bit fun and different. So if we play the sound, it's a little squeaky toy sound. So these are sounds that specifically I gave a range of sounds to Loki, and these are sounds that really gave him strong reactions. And so once we've done that, we will complete that. Waiting for change. So it says, do you want to load the last action, or do you want to load a new action? So I just touched it for a second, so now it's changed. But let's do something more interesting. So lying on side has been detected. So this one is actually asking you to show your dog the screen. So show your dog this animation and interpret their reaction as a dance in front of them, even if it is no reaction. So with Loki, when it comes to dog screen watching, he's actually not too interested in things that are going on the screen. But he does become very interested in interpretive dance being done in front of him. Of course, I think a lot of dogs go crazy when their owners start dancing around the room. So this task involves a little bit of, researching your dog's own reactions to screens, but then also engaging with them. It's quite nice. This is an animation. Obviously, I've made all the images and animations in this work. So this is an animation of, it's actually crickets. And Loki loves to go out and find the crickets in the grass outside. So this is what this is kind of referring to underneath. So waiting for a change or load the last action, lying on side 1. So I wanted to switch sides there. So choose a toy to play with that you can play together lying down. A soft toy should work. Play in such a way that the dog can remain lying down. So remember we were on lying on one side, so there are obviously 2 different sides, lying on one side and lying on the other side. So it knows obviously that you're lying on your side, and it tends to think of these tasks as similar to what the expression is. So if your dog is lying down, obviously tasks will revolve around that. The tasks won't necessarily ask you to get up. They'll say, hey, just stay lying down and we'll do something in that position. If you're walking together, it'll be different. But really, overall, the nature of what this task-based game is trying to do is it works as a change agent to really to think about how to change up your interactions and introduces new little things that you can do together into your normal daily life together. And it also asks you to perhaps reconnect a little bit. So you might just be sitting around the house together, not paying much attention to each other. And this is, hey, why don't you do this funny little thing together? So there is an element of sort of reconnection there. So this is about playing lying down. This is the only way now that Loki, now that he's old, this is the only way that he can play, is lying down. He can't play standing up anymore. So this is exactly the way that he plays with soft toys, is lying down. And indeed you can see coming up in the background a drawing that I've done of different basically Loxicon dispensers. So this obviously has a very personal connection to Loki and the care that he goes through in old age, and the scientific or veterinary research that has gone into the way that we look after him in his old age. So some of these don't have an animation that comes up in the background, not all of them do, because there is about there's about maybe 60 of these different tasks that come up. So to get a little bit more technical, the way that it works is for each gesture there's about 5 different potential tasks, and the gestures are walking, sitting, lying on one side, lying on the other side, bending forward and rolling over. Gosh, I forgot for a minute about rolling over. And of course, then there's stillness. So stillness means that nothing has been detected for a certain amount of time. And so it's likely that the animal is still in that position. So he's lying down, and he's been lying down for about 10 minutes and he's sleeping. So stillness is its own function within this game, and so that obviously works on a timer and it comes up after time. Another function of it is that you have these 5 different options that occur for all the different movements. You get them completely randomly within each of the movements, so the 5 sits will come up randomly. So each time you play, you're going to get a different order, and so your gameplay from start to finish is going to look very different every time you play. But then the other thing that it also does is It knows when the dog has been in that position quite a few different times. So it might say, you've been sitting down a lot. And it does that by knowing, oh, you've been sitting, and then you go to stand, and then you sit again, and it counts up the number of different times that you do those things. And so after a certain amount of times of doing that thing, it starts to give you a range of new tasks. So for that particular gesture, so it might say, you've been sitting down a lot of times, and so you've probably been doing all of the sitting tasks. What does this mean? Particularly with lying down or staying still, what does it mean that that gesture keeps happening? Let's do something that, let's do something different. Let's do something that we know would occur over that time. So, and you won't necessarily know as the player when that particular gesture comes up, but it might say something like, it looks like you've been sitting a lot. Let's try this. And so that's how you know that you've entered that phase of the code. Here's another animation one. Now I'm not going to take you through, obviously, every one of these, because like I say, there are a lot of them, and I'll never be able to get through to all of them. But for instance, here it just says that this is one with no animation. Some of them don't have any animation. It says pick up a safe object from the ground, let your dog know that it's a toy, find a way to play with it together for 30 seconds. So a quick game just out of the blue, using something that you found on the ground. It might be a stick, it might be a leaf. So coming up with this new idea of a game. There is research to show that, and I think we all know this as dog owners, that dogs know how to decide on the fly that something is a toy and then move away from that again. So, suddenly a stick stops being a stick and becomes a toy for a short amount of time, and then maybe it goes back to being a stick. So this is sort of a creative play that it's not understood how many different species know how to do that sort of creative play. So that's kind of what this one's referencing a little bit. So that's basically how it works. Oops, sitting has been detected. So this one relates very strongly to my research methodology. It says find a series of objects to bring to your dog and let them sniff. Leaves, twigs or rocks work well. Which item did they spend the longest on? When returning the items, arrange them by length of time spent sniffed / investigated. So gentle little tasks that you can do with your dog. And that's basically how it works. So there's no end to it really, you could just keep playing forever. One last thing that I'll show you while we're here is I'll take you back to this main page and I'll just show you the disclaimer in the middle there. So what the disclaimer says is, this app is intended as an art piece made for people with companion dogs. This does not include working dogs or service dogs, nor other species of animals. Please perform all tasks within reason and skip a task if you have any doubts about the safety of yourself, your pet, or your relationship together. You are the best judge of your own surroundings and your own dog's personality and desires. Please use this app accordingly. For instance, if the app tells you to pat a certain body part of your dog, and we heard that one before, didn't we? But you have doubts around whether your dog would like this action, you can simply skip the task. And so that's what the skip button is for. So yeah, thank you for listening.